Alright, hello guys, this is the Crunchy Set, and some of you might be wondering, wait, didn't you say you were going to be doing SDP6, Daughter of 682? And the thing is, I'm still waiting in for some of the results for the poll because not a lot of people had voted for it, only those who are actively watching my videos are voting on it, so I'm going to wait a bit for the results to come in, because it's still too early to decide. So, I'll be doing this what if to fill in a little gap, and this will be what if female deku had Xanu. Now, for those of you who haven't seen Dingo Doodle's series D&D thing on her D&D game, Xanu is basically this guy. He is a... Now, I do not own any of the characters or any of the art in this video. All characters and art belong to the original creators of the art. So the character of Xanu belongs to the Fool's Gold campaign and the creator of it, which is Dingo Doodle's partner. And to basically explain it, Xanu is basically a artificial god who was created by the Four Claimers, and basically has the power to manipulate souls. Now, some of you might be wondering, wait, how am I going to transition somebody from a Dungeons and Dragons campaign into the My Hero Academia universe? Well, get ready for a ride, because it's going to be a wild one. Alright, so we'll pick up, now, the animation for the Full Go campaign hasn't ended, so I'm gonna basically guess. This is all speculation. This is not 100% accurate. So, I'm gonna say that Xanu had completed his mission on exterminating all the Four Claimers with the help of Sips, and Sips basically went about living his normal life, while Xanu had found out that the Four Claimers existed in different universes as well. And Xanu, still fueled by the rage of what the Four Claimers did to him, he would create a portal to a separate universe as he would enter it, as this would end up destroying his physical body. As the crystal in Xanu's forehead would basically spiral through the dimensions and eventually land in the My Hero Academia universe. As his jet crystal would have been fused into Izumi. As the crystal isn't visible on Izumi, it's sort of like where it was for Sips. It was actually in her head. So, when Izumi was born, she was taken by the doctors and cleaned up and given to Inko. Now, Xanu can see everything that Izumi can see. As Xanu is wondering, who is this woman, and what is she to me? As Inko would look down at Izumi, as Izumi would have begun to calm down. As Xanu began to think, so this is this young girl's mother. She seems quite nice. It's a shame thou have to leave this body eventually once I've wiped out the Four Claimers in this universe. As the years would go by and Izumi would begin to grow up. Now, Izumi can see Xanu, and now nobody else can see Xanu, only Izumi. So everybody thinks that Xanu is Izumi's imaginary friend, as Zanu would have basically been watching over Izumi for her entire life and experiencing everything Izumi experienced. And finally, the day Izumi's quirk analysis comes about, as Izumi excitedly asking Inko to take her to the quirk doctor, as Inko would have taken Izumi to the quirk doctor. Sorry for the loud noise, I was just shutting the window. As Inko would take her to the quirk doctor, with Izumi getting her possible quirk analyzed, as the doctor would come back and say that Izumi was quirkless. As Zanu at this point knows what a quirk is, and he was planning on revealing what Izumi's true capabilities are at some point in the future, when she was old enough and strong enough. As Dr. Ujiko, which is the doctor's name, would ask Inko what is her quirk and what is her husband's quirk, as Inko would say that her quirk is basically that she can track small objects, while her husband's quirk is that he can breathe fire. Actually, I'm going to say she says ex-husband, because in this timeline, Inko and Hisashi are divorced, because once Hisashi learned that Inko was pregnant, he basically just dipped. He just dipped from her life and Izumi's. As the quirk doctor would say that there's no possibility that Izumi will develop a quirk sometime in the future, and there's no possibility of her becoming a hero. As Zanu would feel that Izumi was hurt by this, she could feel as if her hopes and dreams had died that day. As once they go home, Izumi would have been watching the All Might video that she usually watched, as she would begin tearing up like in canon, as she would point to the screen, as she would ask, "Can I be a hero too?" As Inko would begin to break down and run over to Izumi, as she would hug her, as she would say, "I'm sorry, Izumi. I'm so sorry." As the next day at preschool, word got about that Izumi was quirkless, as everybody would have began bullying her because of her quirklessness. And eventually, this would come about to Izumi seeing Bakugo bullying a kid with a weaker quirk, as she would run up to defend the kid, as she'd say, "That's enough, Kachan. This is not what heroes do. If you don't stop what you're doing, I will fight you." As Zanu is basically watching this, as he is amazed that somebody with no power is willing to stand up to somebody with a power because they are doing what is right. As Bakugo would then say, "What are you going to do with your with no quirk, Deku? You're more useless than this kid." As Bakugo and the three bullies would run towards Izumi, using their quirks to hurt her, as this is where Zanu steps in. As Izumi's eyes would turn black, with white pupils like Zanu's, as she would reach her hand out and you begin to use soul magic, as Bakugo would end up I'll say that the kid with the wings would stop moving, as Bakugo and the other kid, the kid with the long fingers, would see this, and they'd ask, "Wait, what's going on? What's happening?" As Xanu would begin to puppeteer the kid, as he would have him beat up Bakugo and the kid with the long fingers. Now, if you're wondering why the kid with the wings is able to beat up Bakugo, it's because Bakugo was caught off guard by this. And then when Xanu was done with him, he pushed the kid's soul out of his body, causing the kid to go catatonic. Now, I'm going to say, like, unlike in xanu, where they're completely catatonic forever, they can get out of that state, but it takes a very long time, like a couple years. As Xanu would give control back to Izumi, as she would open her eyes back up, as they would return to their normal color, as she would say, "What happened? Kachan, why are you on the ground and beaten up?" As Bakugo would look up to Izumi, as he'd say, get away from me, you villain! As both Bakugo and the kid with the long, elongated fingers would run off. As rumors would begin to spread that Izumi had actually lied about being quirkless, and that her quirk is quite villainous, which would cause her to be bullied even more. As from time to time, Xanu would step in to protect Izumi, but that wouldn't really work from a lot. So Izumi will still age normally, but once Yue will be a college in this, she will be 18 by the actual beginning of the anime, as Xanu would basically stop her from aging at that point. So I'll basically explain the abilities Izumi has. So she has soul magic. She has soul magic, so she can basically puppeteer people or cause them to go catatonic, like I explained earlier. And she also doesn't need to eat, drink, or sleep. While she can still eat and drink, she can't sleep at all. So that just gives her a lot of time to study. So Izumi will be a lot smarter than her canon counterpart, and she would have spoken to Xanu quite a few times, and actually saw him by allowing Xanu, basically instructing Izumi how to create an illusion of him, as Xanu would have appeared in front of her many times, and she would have had a conversation with Xanu. Now, Izumi still has her strong sense of justice as her canon counterpart, so she will be a hero in this. And I know it's like some of you are getting frustrated by the amount of hero ones I'm doing, but I will be doing some other villain ones. So like if I feel like I know like the hero ones are outweighing the villain ones, so I'll be doing a few more villain ones to counter the hero ones. So Xanu, and it basically explains what happened in his past and what he did in the previous world he was in, aka wiping out the Four Claimers in that world, apart from, Gothi, because she was his friend. As Izumi would basically ask questions about the Four Claimers, as Xanu would explain that the Four Claimers had no empathy and were incapable of feeling it, and that if the Four Claimers opened up portals, as they did, it opened up a portal in this world, then it would be all-out war, and they would basically destroy anything and anyone they deemed defective. Which basically, to the Four Claimers, basically means if you feel any empathy towards anything, then you're basically defective to them, and unless you have rank, you will be eliminated from their society. As Izumi would then say, can't we wait till I become a pro hero can we wait a little while longer? I'll need to decide whether I'm willing to help you in this or not. As Zanu would say, that will be fine. My previous host also needed some time to think about it, but his time limit was much shorter than yours. As Izumi would say, that's fine. I really need some time to think about this. As Zanu would then say, then you will have time. I will be waiting for your answer. And if you are nearly approaching death, I will be there to interfere, if needed. And if I am to interfere, there will be consequences, as Izumi would have said. Yes, sir. As Zanu would have then disappeared, and Izumi would have gone back to studying. As we finally, after 16 minutes, get to the beginning of the anime, where their high school teacher then comes into the room and says, Alright, students, I have your application forms for jobs in the future. As he would then toss them up into the air and say, just kidding, I know you all want to be heroes. As everybody would begin to start using their quirks. As he would say, yes, I am aware that a lot of you have very powerful quirks. I have an announcement. We have the Bakugo Katsuki who's planning on applying for UA. As Bakugo would say, damn right, I'm better than all these extras. They'd be lucky enough to be some sidekicks to a busted D-lister. I'm going to become the #1 hero and become even popular than All Might. As the teacher would then look down at another sheet, as he would see, Izumi, you're planning on going into UA too, am I right? As everybody would turn around and begin laughing at her, as they would say, why would somebody with a villainous quirk like you be led to UA? You'd probably be kicked out before you even got to the front gate. As they would all begin laughing. Now, the kid with the wing quirk did come out of his catatonic state, and he never talked to Izumi again. He basically never went near her because he was afraid of her. As Bakugo would then explode Izumi's desk, as he would say, you're even worse than these rejects. You're a villain. UA would never let a villain like you into their prestigious school. You won't even be allowed to participate in the entrance exams. As Izumi would then say, that my quirk may be villainous, but it doesn't mean that I can't help people. You're just being a bully because you're scared that I have a more powerful quirk than you. You're acting like this because you know that one day you won't be in the spotlight anymore. As Bakugo would basically try to throw an explosion at Izumi's face, as Zanu would then step in and then begin to puppeteer Bakugo back to his seat. As Zanu would then let Izumi gain back control, as he'd say, that one was a freebie. Next time that happens, there will be consequences. As Izumi would say in her head mentally, yes, Zanu, of course. As Zanu and Izumi's relationship has grown a bit to where Zanu does have a soft spot for Izumi. So he does give Izumi some freebie rescues once a month. And if you're going to ask, no, these do not stack. She only gets one per month. as as Izumi would have gone back to her desk and then packed up her things, began packing up her things at the end of the class, as Bakugo would have snatched her notebook and saw that it was basically stuff for her basically hero analysis for the future, and it was the same volume as last time, which I believe was volume 13. As Bakugo would basically pick it up, as the other bullies, Bakugo's goons, would begin laughing by saying, she actually hasn't done a book to analyze for her future career as a hero. That's laughable. As Bakugo would then explode it and throw out the window. As he would then place his hand on Izumi's shoulder, as he allows some smoke. As he would then say, "Don't apply for a UA now, will ya?" As Bakugo was walking out the room, he would then say the same thing, the same speech he said to Deku and Cannon about taking a swan dive off the roof and praying that you get a better quirk in your next life. As Zanu hearing this, would have been enraged by this, as he would say to Izumi, "Why don't you kill him already?" As Izumi would say, "I can't. That's not what a hero would do. And Zanu, we've gone over this. Every time you tell me to kill Bakugo, we both know that it'll end with the both of us not lasting very long." As Zanu would then let out a sigh, as he would then say, "You're right. I'm sorry. I've just been getting frustrated at that boy." As Izumi would say, "I know you're getting frustrated. Trust me, I'm frustrated as well, but letting our anger out at him will not make the situation better. It'll just prove his point that we are a villain. That I am a villain." As she began to form her hand into a fist, as she began to tear up. As Zanu taking sort of partial control of Izumi's body on one of her hands, would materialize an illusion of himself to comfort Izumi, as he would say, I'm very sorry for lashing out at you. I should have been more analytical about this." As Izumi would have said, "It's okay. I know that you usually aren't like this. We all have flaws. Even artificial gods like you have flaws. But that doesn't mean we can't make ourselves better. The flaws will still exist, but that doesn't mean that we can't better ourselves." As Zanu would say, "You're right. Now then, we better head home. If I remember correctly, your mother said that she was making katsudon." As Izumi would say, "Oh, that's my favorite. Come on, let's go." And that is where I'm going to be leaving this part off. If you guys enjoy this, then I will make another part to it. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.